Hey, welcome back. Or maybe, welcome for the first time. Either way, I'm really glad you're here. This is the Nikko Daze Show, a space where we slow down, sit with our thoughts, and talk about the things we don't always say out loud. The quiet struggles, the heavy feelings, the questions that don't have easy answers. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, pressured, lost, or just tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix, this space is for you. If you're a teen or a young adult trying to figure out who you are, where you're going, and how to keep it all together while everything feels uncertain, you're not alone here, and you don't have to pretend here. Welcome to the Daze. This isn't just a podcast. It's a moment, a pause in your day, a space where you don't have to have everything figured out. Because honestly, most of us don't, and that's okay. So for today's episode, we're not jumping straight into something heavy. We're starting with something simple, but meaningful. We're starting again. This episode is about welcoming you into a new season of the Nikko Daze Show. A new chapter, a reset. Because whether you realize it or not, life moves in seasons too. Sometimes you outgrow things. Sometimes things fall apart. Sometimes you wake up one day and realize you're not the same person you were a few months ago. And sometimes starting over isn't something you planned. It just happens. Maybe you're coming into this season feeling hopeful. Maybe you're coming in confused. Maybe you're carrying things you haven't fully processed yet. Or maybe you're just here, listening, trying to feel a little less alone. Wherever you are right now, that's valid. You don't need to have a clear direction. You don't need to have a perfect mindset. You don't need to fix yourself before you deserve to be here. You can just show up as you are. This new season is going to be about real conversations, about the kind of honesty that's sometimes uncomfortable, but necessary. We'll talk about things like overthinking, pressure, identity, burnout, relationships, expectations, and everything in between. Not in a way that feels like a lecture, but in a way that feels like someone sitting beside you, saying, "Hey, I get it, and I want this to be more than just something you listen to. I want it to be something you feel, something you can come back to when your mind is loud, or when everything feels a little too much, a space that reminds you you're human, and being human is messy." So wherever you're listening from right now, your room, your bed, your commute, late at night, or in the middle of a quiet moment, thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to spend this time with me. This is your space too, and we're just getting started. Welcome to a new season. Welcome to your reset. And once again, welcome to the Daze. All right, before we go any further, this is your Daze check-in. This is your moment to pause, to slow down, to just be here without needing to figure anything out. No pressure, no expectations, just you as you are right now. I want you to gently ask yourself something. Where have you been? Not just physically, not just where you've gone or what you've done, but mentally, emotionally. Where were you when we were gone? What did your days look like? Were you waking up already tired, trying to push through responsibilities even when your energy was already low? Were you dealing with something heavy on your own, keeping it to yourself because you didn't know how to explain it or who to tell? Were you trying to be strong for everyone else while quietly falling apart inside? Or maybe you were healing, taking small steps, setting boundaries, trying to understand yourself better. Maybe you were growing, even if it didn't feel obvious at the time. Or maybe you were just surviving, doing what you needed to get through each day. And if that's where you were, that matters too. There is no right or wrong answer here. Whatever your reality looked like during that time, you don't need to judge it. Just acknowledge it. Just recognize that version of you. Because that version of you brought you here. And that counts. Now, let's take a moment to ground ourselves. If you can, adjust your posture a bit. Sit or lie down in a way that feels comfortable. Relax your shoulders. Let them drop. Unclench your jaw. Loosen your hands. Take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly breathe out. Again, inhale deeply. and exhale slowly. One more time. Inhale and exhale. As you breathe, just notice what's happening in your body. Notice your chest rising and falling. Notice the feeling of air moving in and out. Notice where you might be holding tension. And if your mind starts to wander, that's okay. You don't have to force it to be quiet. Just gently bring your attention back to your breath, back to this moment, back to now. You don't need to go back to the past right now. You don't need to jump ahead to the future. You can just stay here, right here. Because right now, in this moment, you are safe enough to pause. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to exist without pressure, even just for a few minutes. And I want you to recognize something. No matter what you've been through recently, no matter how messy things felt, no matter how uncertain or heavy it got, you made it here. You're listening to this. You showed up. And that matters more than you think. Sometimes we overlook that. We think we need big progress, big changes, big wins. But sometimes, showing up is already something powerful. Sometimes, continuing is already an act of strength. So just take one more steady breath. And as you exhale, allow yourself to settle into this space. So let's talk about this. Starting again. Because it sounds simple, right? A new season. A fresh start, a reset. But if we're being honest, starting again isn't always exciting. Sometimes it's tiring. Sometimes it feels like you're back at the beginning when you thought you were already making progress. And sometimes it makes you question yourself. Like, why am I here again? Why does it feel like I have to rebuild parts of myself I already worked on before? That's the part people don't really talk about. We celebrate new beginnings, like they're always clean and motivating. But in reality, they're often messy. They come after burnout, after confusion, after things didn't go the way you expected, after you lost something, or maybe even lost a version of yourself. And now you're here, trying to figure things out again. That can feel frustrating. It can feel like you're behind, like everyone else is moving forward and you're just restarting. But here's something important to understand. Starting again doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't erase who you were or what you've been through. It actually means you're still choosing to move forward, even if it's slow, even if it's uncertain, even if you don't fully know what you're doing yet. And that matters, because a lot of people stay stuck, not because they want to, but because starting again feels scary. It means facing things you avoided. It means being honest with yourself. It means stepping into something unfamiliar without guarantees. And that takes courage, even if it doesn't feel like it. Also, starting again doesn't mean you're starting from zero. You're starting from experience, from everything you've learned, from everything you've survived, from every version of yourself that got you here. You carry that with you, even if you don't always notice it. And sometimes, growth doesn't look like moving forward in a straight line. Sometimes it looks like pausing, like taking a step back, like resting, like reevaluating, like letting go of things that no longer fit who you're becoming. That's still growth, even if it feels slow, even if it feels unclear. And maybe right now, you're in that space, in between who you used to be and who you're becoming. Not fully one, not fully the other. That space can feel uncomfortable, but it's also where a lot of real change happens. So if this season of your life feels like a reset, like you're starting again, like you're figuring things out from scratch, you're not alone in that, and you're not doing it wrong. You're just in a part of your story that doesn't always get talked about, but it's real, and it's necessary. And maybe, just maybe, this new beginning isn't about becoming someone completely different. Maybe it's about coming back to yourself with a little more awareness, a little more honesty, and a little more compassion than before. Let's make this a little more real. Imagine this. You told yourself you were going to do better this year. You had plans. You were going to fix your routine, be more consistent, take care of your mental health, maybe even feel more in control of your life. For a while, it worked. You were showing up. You were trying, but then something shifted. Maybe school got overwhelming. Maybe your motivation dropped. Maybe something happened that threw you off completely, and slowly, the things you were doing started to fall apart. You went back to old habits. You started procrastinating again. You felt tired more often. Your mind got louder. And now you're sitting there thinking, what happened? I thought I was doing better. Why does it feel like I'm back here again? That moment right there, that feeling of frustration, disappointment, even guilt, that's where a lot of people get stuck. Because it's easy to start being hard on yourself. To think you failed. To think all your progress didn't matter. But what if we looked at it differently? What if instead of saying, I'm back to zero, you said, I'm in a moment where I need to reset? Because those are not the same thing. Being back at zero means everything is gone. A reset means you're adjusting. You're recognizing that something didn't work the way you expected. And now you have a chance to approach it differently. So what can you actually do in that situation? Start small. Not big, unrealistic changes. Not trying to fix everything overnight. Just one thing. Maybe it's getting out of bed a little earlier. Maybe it's drinking water when you wake up. Maybe it's stepping outside for a few minutes. Maybe it's simply choosing to be a little kinder to yourself today. Because rebuilding doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small, consistent moments. And here's something important. You don't have to wait for the perfect time to start again. You don't need a Monday. You don't need a new month. You don't need everything in your life to be in order first. You can start from wherever you are, even if it's messy, even if it's not ideal, even if you're not fully ready. Because most of the time, people don't feel ready. They just decide to begin anyway. So, if you find yourself in that situation, feeling like you've slipped, like you've lost momentum, don't turn it into a reason to stop completely. Let it be a moment to pause, to reflect, and to begin again, even if it's in a smaller, quieter way. That's how real change actually happens. Before we end this episode, I want to leave you with something you can carry with you after this. A simple journal prompt, something you can sit with, reflect on, and come back to whenever you need it. Here it is. If I allowed myself to start again without pressure, what would that look like for me? Take your time with that. You don't have to answer it perfectly. You don't have to sound deep or put together. Just be honest. What would your life look like if starting again didn't feel like failure? If it didn't come with guilt? If it didn't come with the pressure to immediately get everything right? Would you move slower? Would you be kinder to yourself? Would you let go of certain expectations that are weighing you down? Would you focus on fewer things, but with more intention? You can also take it a step further. Ask yourself, what is one small thing I can do to begin again right where I am? Not 5 things, not 10, just one, something realistic. Something you can actually follow through on. Because sometimes, clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from taking one small step and seeing where it leads. You don't need to have everything figured out tonight. You don't need a complete plan. You just need a starting point. So if you can, write it down, keep it somewhere you'll see it. Or even just sit with it for a few minutes after this ends. Let it be something that stays with you, not just something you heard. Because this isn't about changing your whole life overnight. It's about creating space for a different kind of beginning. One that feels more honest, more gentle, and more sustainable for you. And before we end this episode, I just want to remind you of something. You don't have to have everything figured out right now. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to suddenly become a completely different person overnight. You're allowed to take your time. You're allowed to move at your own pace. And you're allowed to start again as many times as you need to. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it too. A friend, a classmate, someone you know who's been going through a lot lately. Sometimes, just knowing someone thought of you is enough to make things feel a little lighter. And if you can, take a moment after this. Sit with what you felt. Go back to that journal prompt. Or just breathe. Let this not just be something you listened to, but something you carry with you. This is just the beginning of a new season. More conversations, more real moments, more space to understand yourself a little better. And I'm really glad you're here for it. I'll see you in the next episode. See you in the days